The morning started like any other day on Earth. People were drinking coffee, heading to work, and children were getting ready for school. Nobody knew that death was coming from the stars. Admiral Vextar stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the blue planet through the viewing screen. His four arms moved across the control panels while his crew prepared for battle. The Zellarian hegemony had conquered dozens of worlds, and Earth would be just another easy victory. "Report," Vextar ordered his intelligence officer. "The humans have 53 warships total, Admiral. Their weapons are primitive chemical rockets and basic energy beams. Their shields are weak. We count 200 ships in our fleet. This will be over quickly," Vextar nodded. 3 years of watching Earth had shown him everything he needed to know. Humans fought each other constantly. They had barely reached their own moon. Their technology was thousands of years behind Zellarian science. On Earth, alarms started screaming across every military base. Commander Jake Morrison ran onto the bridge of the UES Defender, Earth's newest battleship. His hand shook as he read the reports coming in from deep space sensors. "How many ships?" Jake asked. Lieutenant Lisa Grant looked up from her station. Her face was pale. "Over 200, sir. They're big, much bigger than anything we have. Send the message to all ships. Emergency battle stations. Get me Admiral Wright on the comm." Jake had trained for this moment his whole life, but he never really believed it would happen. First contact with aliens, and they were here to kill everyone. The civilian ships started launching from Earth's orbital stations. Captain Amy Foster commanded the evacuation efforts from Luna Base. She watched through the windows as families rushed toward the transport ships. "How many can we save?" Amy asked. Her crew engineer Kate Taylor checked her numbers. 17 ships are ready to launch. We can fit maybe 40,000 people if we pack them tight." Amy felt sick. Earth had 8 billion people. 40,000 was nothing. But it was all they could do. Dr. Chris Martinez worked in the medical bay, treating wounded soldiers who had been injured during the panic. People were getting trampled trying to get onto the escape ships. Children were crying for their parents. The whole scene was chaos. Captain Ben Taylor helped load the civilians onto the transport ships. His wife Kate was working on the technical systems while their 8-year-old daughter Lucy waited in line with the other children. "Daddy, are the aliens really coming?" Lucy asked. Ben knelt down and hugged his daughter. "Yes, sweetie, but you're going to be safe. The ship will take you far away from here." "What about you and Mommy?" Ben couldn't answer. He just held her tighter. The alien fleet moved closer to Earth. Their ships were black as space and shaped like deadly knives. Energy crackled around their hulls. The humans had never seen technology like this. Lieutenant Colonel Dan Carter led the ground defense around the launch areas. His soldiers dug trenches and set up missile launchers. They all knew it wouldn't help much, but they had to try. "Sir, the first alien ships are entering our atmosphere," reported Lieutenant Mary Johnson. Dan watched through his binoculars as the alien fighters screamed overhead. They moved faster than anything humans had ever built. Their weapons turned buildings into glass and metal into gas. The human fleet moved to intercept the aliens. Captain Jake Morrison commanded the defense from his bridge. The 53 Earth ships looked tiny compared to the alien fleet. "All ships fire at will," Jake ordered. The human weapons fired first. Missiles and energy beams struck the alien ships. The humans cheered for a moment, thinking they had damaged the enemy. Then they saw the truth. Their weapons hadn't even scratched the alien hulls. The aliens fired back. Their energy beams cut through the human ships like knives through paper. The first human ship, the UES Liberty, exploded in a ball of fire. Then the second ship died. Then the third. Jake watched his fleet die around him. His friends, people he had trained with for years, were being killed in seconds. The alien weapons were too powerful. The human shields were too weak. "Sir, we've lost 30 ships already," Lisa reported. Her voice was calm, but her hands were shaking. "Keep firing. We have to buy time for the evacuation." The civilian ships started launching from Earth's orbital stations. Captain Nick Phillips commanded the transport ship Haven's Rest. He had space for 10,000 people, but only 5,000 had made it aboard before the alien attack started. "Should we wait for more people, sir?" asked his navigator, Susan Wells. Nick watched the battle raging in space above them. Human ships were dying every few seconds. "No, if we wait any longer, everyone dies. Launch now." One by one, the 17 transport ships left Earth's orbit. They carried families, children, scientists, and soldiers. Everyone was crying. Everyone knew they would never see Earth again. Dr. Ron Hayes worked in the medical bay of one transport ship. His wife, Linda Hayes, helped calm the frightened children. She was a teacher and knew how to talk to kids when they were scared. "Where are we going?" asked a little boy. "To a new home among the stars," Linda said. "You're going to see amazing things." Admiral Paul Wright, the highest-ranking officer who had survived the first attack, coordinated the retreat from his ship. He watched Earth getting smaller and smaller through the viewing screen. The battle was over in 4 hours. The human fleet was destroyed. Only a few escape pods had survived. The alien bombers began attacking Earth's cities. From space, the 17 transport ships watched their home planet burn. The lights of cities went out one by one. The blue and green world that had been humanity's cradle was turning into a ball of fire. Jake Morrison's ship was one of the last to die. He sent a final message to the escape fleet. "Tell everyone what happened here. Tell them we fought. Tell them we tried." Then the UES Defender exploded, taking Jake and his crew with it. The alien fleet moved into orbit around Earth. Admiral Vextar was pleased. The conquest had taken only 4 hours, much faster than expected. Soon his troops would land and begin collecting the spoils of war. The 17 human ships jumped to faster-than-light speed and disappeared into the darkness between stars. They carried the last survivors of humanity, or so everyone believed. Behind them, Earth continued to burn. The aliens had won their easy victory, but they had no idea what they had actually found on the small blue planet, or what the humans had really been doing for the past 3 years. The invasion was over. The real war was about to begin. The transport ships flew through space at maximum speed. Inside, people were packed together like animals. There wasn't enough food, water, or air for everyone. But they were alive, which was more than could be said for the billions left behind on Earth. Captain Amy Foster walked through the corridors of her ship, the New Dawn. Children were crying everywhere. Parents held their kids close and whispered that everything would be okay. But Amy could see the fear in their eyes. Nobody really believed things would be okay. "Captain, we have a problem," said Engineer Kate Taylor. She looked exhausted. Dark circles ringed her eyes. "What now?" Amy asked. "The life support systems are failing. We have too many people on board. The air recyclers can't keep up." Amy rubbed her forehead. She had hoped they might have a few weeks before the system started breaking down. "How long do we have?" "Maybe 6 days. 7 if we're lucky. 6 days to find a new home." Amy knew it was impossible. The nearest colony was 2 weeks away at their current speed. But she couldn't tell the people that. They needed hope, even if it was false hope. In the medical bay, Dr. Chris Martinez worked without stopping. People were getting sick from the stress and overcrowding. He had medicine for maybe half the patients who needed it. The rest would have to suffer. A young mother brought her baby to him. The child was barely breathing. "Please, doctor. She's all I have left. My husband died in the attack." Chris looked at the baby. She was sick, but he had seen worse. With the right medicine, she would live. But he only had 3 doses left, and there were 5 sick children waiting. "I'll do what I can," he promised. Captain Ben Taylor commanded another transport ship called the Far Star. His wife Kate worked in the engine room, trying to keep their old ship running. Their daughter Lucy was in the children's section with the other kids. "Daddy, when are we going home?" Lucy asked when Ben came to check on her. Ben knelt down beside her bed. How could he tell an 8-year-old that home didn't exist anymore? "We're going to find a new home, Lucy, a better home." "Will it have my toys?" "We'll get you new toys. Even better ones." Lucy smiled, but Ben could see she didn't really understand. None of the children did. They thought this was just a long trip and Mommy and Daddy would take them home soon. The ship's computer started showing problems. Warning lights flashed red across every control panel. Kate Taylor cursed under her breath as she looked at the engine readings. "The power core is overloading," she told her husband over the comm. "We're pushing too hard. The engines weren't meant for this kind of stress." "How long before they fail?" Ben asked. "Could be hours. Could be days. I'm doing everything I can." On the bridge of the largest transport ship, Admiral Paul Wright tried to contact the other vessels. The communications were breaking down. Static filled every channel. "Admiral, I'm getting strange readings from the other ships," reported Communications Officer Susan Wells. "What kind of readings?" "Their engine signatures are wrong. Like they're running on empty, but that's impossible." "We all launched with full fuel tanks," Paul frowned. Something wasn't right, but he couldn't figure out what. The stress of command was making it hard to think clearly. Captain Nick Phillips commanded the Haven's Rest, the fastest ship in the small fleet. His navigator, Susan Wells, had plotted a course toward the Alpha Centauri system. It was humanity's only colony outside the solar system. "Sir, I'm picking up a signal from Alpha Centauri," Susan reported. "From the colony." "No, sir, it's coming from deeper in space." "Beyond the colony." Nick felt his heart race. Another alien fleet? Had they found the human colony too? "Put it on speakers." The message was in English, but the voice was strange, electronic. "Human survivors, this is Colony Ship 17. We are prepared to receive refugees. Transmit your passenger counts and medical requirements." Nick stared at the communications panel. "Colony Ship 17? We only built 16 colony ships and they all left years ago." "Sir, there's more," Susan said. "I'm detecting massive structures around Alpha Centauri. Hundreds of ships, maybe thousands. That's impossible. The colony only had 50,000 people." Dr. Ron Hayes worked in his medical bay while his wife Linda Hayes took care of the children. Linda was a teacher, and she tried to keep the kids distracted with stories and games. "Mrs. Hayes, are we really going to live on another planet?" asked a little boy named Joey. "Yes, sweetheart. And it's going to be wonderful." "Will there be animals there?" "I miss my dog," Linda's eyes filled with tears. "I'm sure there will be animals, Joey. Lots of them." But she wasn't sure of anything anymore. Nobody was. The ships flew on through space. Behind them, the light from Earth's sun grew dimmer and dimmer. Ahead was only darkness and the hope of finding somewhere safe. Captain Amy Foster called a meeting of all the ship captains. They met through video links, their faces appearing on screens throughout the fleet. "We need to talk about our situation," Amy said. "We're running out of everything. Food, water, medicine, fuel. We won't make it to Alpha Centauri with everyone alive." The other captains looked grim. They had all reached the same conclusion. "What are you suggesting?" asked Captain Phillips. "We need to consider reducing the load. Some of us might have to stay behind." "You mean leave people to die in space?" Captain Taylor asked. "I mean give the children and the healthy adults a chance to live." The silence stretched on for long minutes. These were military officers who had sworn to protect civilian lives. But what choice did they have? "There might be another way," said Admiral Wright. "The strange signals we're picking up from Alpha Centauri. What if they're real? What if someone is really waiting for us?" "Sir, with respect, that's impossible," Amy said. "Who could it be?" "I don't know. But we're going to find out." The 17 ships continued their desperate journey through space. The people inside them didn't know that they were part of something much bigger than a simple evacuation. They didn't know that their escape had been planned for years, or that the real evacuation of Earth had already happened. They thought they were the last survivors of humanity. They thought their empty ships were carrying the entire future of their species. They were wrong about many things, but they were right about one thing: they were going to survive. Not because they were lucky, but because humanity had prepared for this moment long before the aliens arrived. The ships flew on through the darkness, carrying their precious cargo toward a destiny none of them could imagine. Behind them, Earth burned. Ahead of them, the future waited. And in the space between, the greatest deception in galactic history continued to unfold. 3 months had passed since the conquest of Earth. Admiral Vextar expected to be rich by now. Every world the Zolarians conquered provided them with treasures. Rare metals, useful technology, valuable art, and sometimes even slaves that could be sold to other races. But Earth was different. Very different. Commander Zefka led the first survey team down to what had once been New York City. The buildings were still standing, which was unusual. Most species destroyed their cities during the final battle, but the humans had stopped fighting once their space fleet was defeated. Zefka's team walked through empty streets. Cars sat abandoned on the roads. Traffic lights still blinked red and green. Shop windows displayed clothes and electronics. Everything looked normal, except for one thing. There were no people anywhere. "Check the buildings," Zefka ordered his soldiers. The first building they entered was an office complex. Desks were arranged in neat rows. Computer screens still glowed with half-finished work. Coffee cups sat on desks, still warm, but every computer hard drive was missing. Every file cabinet was empty. Every piece of useful technology had been removed. "Sir, this is strange," reported Sergeant Mordak. "It looks like they just walked out in the middle of the day." But they took everything valuable with them. Zefka frowned. What about the residential areas? They moved to the apartment buildings nearby. Every home told the same story. Furniture was still arranged perfectly. Family photos hung on walls. Children's toys were scattered on floors. But every computer, every phone, every electronic device had been carefully removed. The aliens found food still fresh in refrigerators. Clothes still hung in closets. But every book was gone. Every DVD and music collection had vanished. Even the family photos had been taken, leaving only the empty frames. This doesn't make sense, Zefka muttered. Where are the bodies? During a conquest, there were always bodies. People died in the bombing. Others were killed trying to defend their homes. Some committed suicide rather than face slavery, but Earth had no bodies anywhere. Intelligence Officer Torgan studied the reports from survey teams around the globe. Every city told the same impossible story. London, Tokyo, Moscow, Cairo, all empty, all cleaned out. All abandoned without a trace of violence. Admiral, I think we have a serious problem, Torgan reported to Vextar. What kind of problem? The humans didn't flee in panic when we attacked. This was planned. Everything valuable has been systematically removed from the entire planet. Vextar laughed. Don't be ridiculous. We monitored their communications for 3 years. They knew nothing about our plans. Then explain this, Admiral. Torgan showed him images from the agricultural regions. Every farm was empty. Not just of people, but of animals. Every cow, pig, horse, chicken, and sheep had been removed. The grain silos were empty. Even the seeds had been taken from storage facilities. Maybe they ate everything during a long siege, Vextar suggested. Sir, there was no siege. We conquered them in 4 hours. And look at this. More images appeared on the screen. Soil samples had been taken from the most fertile farmlands. Not randomly, but carefully, as if someone wanted to preserve the best growing dirt from every region. They took the soil, Vextar asked. They took everything, Admiral. Every animal, every plant, every useful microorganism. They even emptied the seed banks and genetic research facilities. Vextar stared at the reports. This was impossible. No species had ever conducted such a complete evacuation. It would take years to move everything off an entire planet. The survey teams found more strange evidence. Every library was empty. Every museum had been cleaned out. Every university research lab had been stripped of equipment. Even the zoos were empty, with no trace of where the animals had gone. Commander Zefka explored the underwater cities. Earth had several research stations on the ocean floor. These too were empty, but the technology had been removed so carefully that nothing was damaged. It's like they had unlimited time and unlimited transport capacity, Zefka reported. But we know they only had 17 ships, and those ships couldn't carry more than 50,000 people. The most puzzling discovery came from the space centers. Every rocket had been removed. Every satellite had been taken down from orbit. Even the experimental spacecraft in the research hangars were gone. But the alien sensors had only detected 17 ships leaving the system. Torgan worked through the night, analyzing every piece of data. The math didn't add up. Earth had 8 billion people. The planet contained millions of tons of useful technology and resources. The 17 ships they had observed could carry maybe 100,000 tons total. To remove everything valuable from Earth would require at least 1,000 large transport ships working for several months. The escape fleet was a decoy, Torgan finally concluded. He presented his findings to Admiral Vextar the next day. Admiral, I believe we've been deceived. The 17 ships we observed were never meant to carry the real evacuation. They were meant to make us think we had won quickly and completely. That's impossible, Vextar said. Our sensors detected every ship in the system. Our sensors detected every ship using conventional engines, sir. But what if they had some other form of transportation? Vextar considered this. The Zolarians had encountered many forms of faster-than-light travel. Most species used hyperspace drives similar to their own, but a few races had developed more exotic technologies. Show me the sensor logs from the 17 ships again. Torgan displayed the data. The escape fleet had indeed carried unusual energy signatures. At the time, the Zolarian analyst had assumed these were just primitive human power systems running at maximum capacity. Look at this, Admiral. Torgan highlighted specific readings. These energy patterns are consistent with quantum displacement technology. Vextar felt his blood turn cold. Quantum displacement was theoretical, even for the advanced Zolarians. The idea was simple. Instead of moving through space, you moved space itself around you. You could transport massive amounts of material instantly across vast distances. If the humans developed quantum displacement, Torgan continued, they could have evacuated their entire civilization without us detecting a single ship. But they're primitives. They barely had space travel, did they, Admiral? Or did we see only what they wanted us to see? The evidence was overwhelming. Somehow the humans had moved 8 billion people and their entire technological civilization off Earth before the invasion even began. The battle in space had been theater. The desperate evacuation had been a performance and the Zolarians had fallen for it completely. Sir, there's something else, Torgan added quietly. What? If they could evacuate everything before we arrived, then they knew we were coming long before we thought they did. They've been planning this for years. Vextar stared out at the empty planet below. Earth looked peaceful from orbit, beautiful and blue and completely lifeless. It was the most valuable thing the Zolarians had ever tried to steal, and somehow the humans had stolen it first. Find them, Vextar ordered. Sir? Find the humans. Find out where they went. Find out how they did this. But Torgan was already thinking ahead to the real question. If the humans had technology advanced enough to fool the entire Zolarian fleet, and if they had been planning for this invasion for years, then what else were they planning? The empty planet spun silently below them, keeping its secrets. 5 years before the invasion, Dr. Lisa Chang had made a discovery that would change everything. She was working in her laboratory at MIT, trying to solve theoretical problems about moving large objects through space quickly. Her breakthrough came by accident. She was running an experiment on quantum tunneling when her test subject, a small metal cube, didn't just tunnel through the barrier. It disappeared completely and reappeared 3 feet away. That's impossible, she whispered to herself. Lisa spent the next 6 months recreating the experiment. Each time the results were the same. The cube wasn't moving through space at all. Space was moving around the cube. She had discovered how to fold reality itself. She called her colleague, engineer Tom Rodriguez, and showed him the results. Lisa, do you understand what this means? Tom asked, staring at the data. I think so. We could move entire cities instantly across the galaxy. We need to call the government. Within a week, Lisa found herself in a secret underground facility, meeting with officials she wasn't allowed to name. Her small laboratory had become the most classified project in human history. Physicist Sandra Kim joined the team, along with 100 other scientists. They called their work Project Exodus, and they had one goal: prepare humanity for the day when hostile aliens discovered Earth. We know they're out there, said the project director, a man who only gave his name as Colonel Stevens. Our deep space sensors have detected scout ships from at least 3 different alien races. They're studying us, and when they're ready, they'll come. The scientists worked around the clock. Lisa's quantum displacement technology could move small objects easily, but scaling it up to move entire populations was incredibly difficult. Tom Rodriguez designed the power systems. Each displacement event required enormous amounts of energy, more than most nations used in a year. They would need fusion reactors, antimatter generators, and energy storage systems that hadn't been invented yet. Sandra Kim worked on the targeting systems. Moving something to the wrong location could be fatal. If you displaced a person into solid rock, they would die instantly. The computers had to calculate positions with perfect accuracy across distances of hundreds of light years. For 3 years, the project grew in secret. Facilities were built underground on every continent. The cover story was that they were researching clean energy technology. Most governments thought they were trying to solve climate change. The real work was preparing for the evacuation of human civilization. Captain Amy Foster was recruited 2 years before the invasion. She was told she would be commanding one of the evacuation ships, but her real job was much more important. Your ship will carry actors, not refugees, Colonel Stevens explained. Professional soldiers who will play the role of desperate civilians. I don't understand. When the aliens come, they need to believe they've won. They need to think humanity is fleeing in panic. Your ship and 16 others like it will put on a performance that convinces them we're beaten. Amy stared at the colonel. You're talking about letting them destroy Earth. We're talking about saving humanity. The real evacuation will happen before the aliens arrive. Your job is to make sure they never realize that. Jake Morrison was also recruited for the deception. His entire fleet was specially designed to look primitive while secretly carrying advanced technology. Their weapons were programmed to miss most of their targets. Their shields were designed to fail dramatically. "You understand, Commander, that you and your crew probably won't survive," Colonel Stevens told him. "I understand, sir, but if it saves 8 billion people, it's worth it." The quantum displacement network was completed just 6 months before the invasion. Testing began immediately. The first test moved 1,000 people from New York to a prepared colony on Kepler 442b, a planet 47 light-years away. The displacement took 30 seconds. The people arrived safely along with their clothing, personal belongings, and even the air in their lungs. "It works," Lisa Chang reported to the project leaders. "We can move entire populations instantly." The second test moved an entire small town, including all the buildings, infrastructure, and even the local ecosystem. The town of Cedar Falls, Iowa, population 8,000, was displaced to a prepared site on Ross 128b. The townspeople had been told they were participating in a climate change experiment. They went to sleep in Iowa and woke up on an alien world. Most of them thought they were dreaming. The final tests moved major cities. London was displaced to Proxima Centauri. Tokyo went to Wolf 359. Moscow was moved to a planet near Vega. Each city brought its entire population, all their technology, their museums, their libraries, even their pets and gardens. The quantum displacement field could move everything within a specific area, preserving every detail. On Earth, identical copies of each city were quickly built, using holographic projectors and robotic construction crews. From orbit, everything looked normal. The aliens would never know the difference until they landed. The evacuation of humanity took 3 months. 8 billion people were moved to prepared colonies scattered across 100 star systems. They brought their entire civilization with them. Every book, every work of art, every computer, every animal, every plant. The Earth that remained was an empty stage set, waiting for the aliens to arrive. Dr. Chris Martinez was one of the few real people aboard the evacuation ships. His job was to provide medical care for the actors playing refugees. Most of the civilians were actually soldiers and intelligence officers whose mission was to study the alien technology. "Remember," he briefed his team, "everything we learn about their weapons, their ships, their tactics gets transmitted back to the real fleet. We're not running away, we're gathering intelligence." The 17 ships carried advanced recording equipment disguised as medical supplies. Every alien ship was scanned and analyzed. Every weapon fired at them was studied and its weaknesses identified. When Jake Morrison died defending Earth, his last transmission wasn't a farewell message. It was detailed tactical data about alien ship vulnerabilities, sent via quantum communication to the hidden human fleet. The actors aboard the evacuation ships played their roles perfectly. They cried for their lost home. They spoke of the billions who had died. They seemed desperate and broken, but inside their ships, technicians were reverse engineering alien technology from the sensor readings. Engineers were designing weapons to counter every alien system they had observed. The evacuation fleet looked empty to alien sensors because it was empty. The ships carried only a few thousand people, not the 40,000 the aliens believed. The rest of the space was filled with advanced scientific equipment and quantum communication systems. Every day, the fake refugees sent detailed reports to the real human colonies, ship designs, weapon specifications, tactical doctrines, even alien psychology profiles based on intercepted communications. Admiral Paul Wright's real mission was to establish contact with the relocated colonies and coordinate humanity's response. The bewildered refugees thought they were fleeing to safety. They had no idea they were actually the advanced scouts for a war that humanity had been planning for years. Captain Nick Phillips commanded one of the most important ships in the fleet. His vessel carried the complete technical specifications for building quantum displacement technology. If humanity's enemies ever found their colonies, they would be able to evacuate again instantly. The truth was simple, but devastating. The invasion of Earth hadn't caught humanity by surprise. They had known it was coming for years. They had prepared the perfect response. The aliens thought they had conquered a primitive species. Instead, they had unknowingly participated in the largest intelligence-gathering operation in galactic history. And soon, very soon, They would learn the difference. 2 years after Earth fell, the Zalarian Empire began to die. It started slowly. A mining station on the edge of Zalarian space simply vanished overnight. One day it was there, producing valuable metals and sending regular reports. The next day, there was nothing but empty space where the station had been. Admiral Vextar received the report while orbiting Earth. He was still trying to figure out what had happened to the human population. What? Do you mean vanished? He asked his communications officer. Just that, Admiral. The entire station is gone. Not destroyed, gone like it was never there. Vextar frowned. Mining stations didn't just disappear. Send the investigation ship. The investigation ship found nothing. No debris, no radiation, no trace that a station had ever existed in that location. But the nearby asteroid field showed clear signs of mining operations. Huge chunks of valuable ore had been removed recently. Sir, it's like someone picked up the entire station and carried it away, the investigation team reported. 3 days later, it happened again. A different mining station, in a different system, then a research facility, then a small military outpost. The attacks, if they could be called attacks, followed a pattern. The facilities weren't destroyed. They were stolen. Entire bases, along with everyone and everything inside them, simply vanished without a trace. Admiral Jake Morrison watched the operation from his command ship, hidden in the shadow of a gas giant. He was older now, with gray in his hair and scars on his face from the reconstruction surgery. The Zalarians had thought they killed him at Earth. They were wrong. Target acquired, reported Captain Lisa Grant from the stealth ship Phantom. Mining Station Zeta 7, 300 personnel, standard defenses. Proceed with the operation, Jake ordered. Lisa's ship was invisible to Zalarian sensors. Human technology had advanced dramatically in 2 years. Thanks to studying captured alien equipment, the stealth systems used quantum field manipulation to bend light and energy around the ship. Quantum displacement field is active, reported the ship's engineer. We have lock on the entire station. Transport in 3, 2, 1. The mining station, along with every Zalarian inside it, vanished from its orbit around the gas giant and reappeared in the cargo hold of a massive human transport ship. The Zalarians found themselves in a prison designed specifically for their species. Welcome to the war, Jake said over the intercom. You probably have questions. The captured Zalarians were interrogated by experts in alien psychology. Dr. Sandra Kim had spent 2 years studying Zalarian culture and language. She knew how to get information from them. Where are your main fleet bases? She asked the station commander. I won't tell you anything, human. Sandra smiled. You already have. Your station's computers contained complete navigation data for your entire sector. We know where every Zalarian facility is located. The commander's forearms tensed with anger. You cannot defeat the Empire. We have thousands of ships. Had, Sandra corrected. You had thousands of ships. You're down to about half that now. She wasn't lying. The human raids had been increasing in frequency and scope. What had started as attacks on small outposts had grown into operations against major military bases. Captain Ben Taylor commanded the assault on Zalarian Fleet Base Omega. His daughter Lucy, now 10 years old, watched from the observation deck as her father prepared for battle. Are you going to hurt the aliens, Daddy? She asked. No, sweetheart. We're going to relocate them, just like we relocated ourselves. The human fleet approached the Zalarian base using quantum displacement technology. They appeared instantly, surrounding the base before the aliens could respond. This is Captain Taylor of the Earth Defense Force. Ben transmitted. Surrender your base and prepare for relocation. The Zalarian base commander laughed. You have 12 ships. We have 40. You cannot win. Count again, Ben suggested. As he spoke, more human ships appeared. 50 of them, then 100, then 200. Each ship had displaced directly from hidden colonies scattered across the galaxy. The battle was over in minutes. The Zalarian ships couldn't hit targets that could teleport instantly to new positions. The human weapons, improved with captured alien technology, cut through Zalarian shields like paper, but the humans didn't destroy the base. Instead, they surrounded it with quantum displacement fields and moved it, along with every ship and person inside, to a prison facility in the Andromeda Galaxy. Enjoy your new home, Ben transmitted. It's 2.5 million light-years from anywhere you know. The pattern continued across Zalarian space. Human forces would appear without warning, steal entire facilities and vanish before reinforcements could arrive. But they weren't random attacks. Every target was chosen carefully. Dr. Lisa Chang coordinated the overall strategy from her command center on New Terra, humanity's new capital world. She had become the most important person in human space, the architect of their quantum displacement technology. Phase 3 is complete, she reported to the military council. We've captured or relocated 60% of their major facilities. What about their fleet? Asked Admiral Wright. Scattered and demoralized. They can't fight an enemy that appears and disappears at will. Most of their ships are running back to their core worlds. The Zalarian Empire was collapsing. Colonies that had been part of their territory for centuries were declaring independence. Other alien races, seeing Zalarian weakness, were launching their own attacks. But the humans weren't interested in territory. They were interested in technology. Every captured Zalarian facility was studied carefully. Human scientists reverse-engineered their weapons, their ships, their computers. Within months, human technology was superior to anything the Zalarians had ever built. Tom Rodriguez led the team that improved human starships. The new vessels were faster, stronger and more advanced than the best Zalarian warships. We've taken their quantum displacement technology and improved it by 300%, Tom reported. Our new ships can appear anywhere in the galaxy instantly with perfect accuracy. Engineer Kate Taylor worked on defensive systems. The new human shields could stop any Zalarian weapon. The armor was virtually indestructible. They taught us how to build better weapons by trying to kill us, Kate said. We should thank them. The final assault on the Zalarian homeworld came 2.5 years after Earth fell. Admiral Jake Morrison commanded a fleet of 500 ships, all built with improved alien technology, but they didn't attack the planet. Instead, they appeared in orbit and sent a message. This is Admiral Morrison of the Earth Defense Force. We're here to discuss terms. Admiral Vextar, now commanding the last free Zalarian fleet, answered the call. He looked older, defeated. His forearms hung limply at his sides. What terms? He asked. Complete surrender. Your entire fleet will be relocated to prison colonies. Your technology will become human property. Your empire is finished. And if we refuse? Jake gestured to the ships around him. Then you'll find out what it's like to have your entire civilization stolen while you watch. Vextar stared at the human fleet. Each ship was sleek and deadly, built with the best technology from a dozen alien races. The humans had taken everything the Zalarians had learned over thousands of years and improved it. How? Vextar asked. How did you do this? You taught us, Jake said. Every attack, every weapon, every tactic you used, we studied and learned from. You made us stronger by trying to destroy us. But your species was primitive. You barely had space travel. Jake smiled grimly. We let you think that. We've been preparing for this war for years. You just didn't know you were fighting it. The surrender was signed within hours. The Zalarian Empire, which had ruled 1,000 worlds for 10,000 years, ceased to exist. Earth was reclaimed and rebuilt, this time with quantum displacement technology that could move the entire planet if necessary. The human colonies spread across the galaxy, protected by the most advanced fleet in galactic history. In the end, humanity had gained more from the invasion than they had lost. They had their homeworld back, plus the technology of an entire empire. They had gone from a single planet to a galactic power in less than 3 years. Admiral Vextar spent his remaining years in a comfortable prison on a planet near the edge of the Milky Way. Sometimes, he would look up at the stars and wonder how his mighty empire had been defeated by a species they had conquered so easily. But he had never really conquered them. He had only thought he had, and that mistake had cost him everything. The 17 ships that had fled Earth empty had indeed carried something precious. They had carried the hope of humanity and the promise of return. They had carried the seeds of the greatest military deception in galactic history. The invasion was supposed to be easy. The Zalarians were right about that. But they had been wrong about who was invading whom.